On today's Smart 7, Southport killer sentenced to 52 years. Trump declassifies JFK files and much more. It's Friday, 24th of January. It's Compliment Day and happy birthday, Neil Diamond.
The Smart 7. It's news, but not the news.
The Southport killer was sentenced to a minimum of 52 years in prison on Thursday. He avoided a whole life order because he was still 17 at the time. He committed an horrific triple murder at a children's dance class. The judge, Mr. Justice Julian Goose, speaking at Liverpool's Crown Court, described the killings as ferocious and savage and said the likelihood is Alex Rudakabana will never be released.
I'm sure that Rudakabana had a settled and determined intention to carry out these offences, and that had he been able to, he would have killed each and every child, all 26 of them, as well as any adults who got in his way.
Despite the fact that his parents had called the police about him 4 times and that he had been caught carrying a blade on a bus, no action had been taken by authorities. A full inquiry has now been ordered by Prime Minister Keir Starmer. Merseyside Police Chief Constable Serena Kennedy paid tribute to the 3 victims, Elsie, Bibi and Alice, and thanked her officers for their work on what was a difficult case to police.
This is the most harrowing and large-scale investigation the force has ever dealt with. And I'm incredibly proud of the way in which the investigation team have painstakingly assessed everything and put the prosecution file together.
It's been a hell of a first week for returning US President Donald Trump. He began by firing out executive orders like paper towels at a natural disaster, but some of his plans have already been challenged. On Thursday evening, a federal judge blocked his order revoking so-called birthright citizenship, calling the attempt blatantly unconstitutional. Thursday also saw a new executive order which will declassify files on the killing of John F. Kennedy and Martin Luther King. With the World Economic Forum on in Davos, Trump jumped on Zoom to lecture world leaders about a range of topics, including his government's new disregard for the principles of equality and diversity.
My administration has taken action to abolish all discriminatory diversity, equity and inclusion nonsense, and these are policies that were absolute nonsense throughout the government and the private sector.
He also resorted to some very direct orders, asking OPEC to lower the price of oil, to put pressure on Vladimir Putin, and to force a reduction in interest rates across the world.
I'm also going to ask Saudi Arabia and OPEC to bring down the cost of oil. You got to bring it down, which frankly I'm surprised they didn't do before the election. That didn't show a lot of love.
Donald Trump's new plan to choke off Russia's source of income by forcing a drop in oil prices certainly set a different tone to his initial approach to Russia's war on Ukraine. Putin hasn't responded positively to Trump's threat of tariffs, taxes and sanctions, and it seems like the US president is now trying a different route. He's also calling for NATO members to up their spend to 5% of GDP or face pressure from the US. That's a big jump from the 2 to 2.5% most NATO countries are currently committed to. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte says it's clear that European nations do need to prepare for a new reality.
The problem is not Trump or the US, the problem is Europe. The problem is Europe because at the moment we are not spending enough. We are under the US umbrella here and not paying enough for that. And with the present level of spending, we will not keep ourselves safe.
Ireland was battered overnight by Storm Win, one of the most dangerous storms the country has ever seen. The fast-moving storm led to a rare red weather warning across the whole country, with Scotland expected to be affected throughout Friday. With winds of up to 100 miles per hour expected overnight, people were advised to shelter in place, while all across Ireland public transport, shops, schools and offices closed. The storm also brought historic coastal surges and triggered emergency alerts across Scotland and Northern Ireland for 4.5 million people. Keith Leonard is Ireland's National Director of Fire and Emergency Management, and he was warning the public to stay safe until the winds have passed.
Storm Éowyn is set to be one of the most severe storms Ireland has seen. It is going to be damaging, dangerous and destructive weather event. Our most important message today is that everybody needs to shelter in place for the duration of all red warnings.
Still to come on today's Smart 7, United and Spurs have a good night and Adam Scott talks Grand Central Station. Right after this. Welcome back.
3,
Thursday night saw the Europa League back in action with 16 games, including Spurs in Germany to face Hoffenheim and Man United welcoming Rangers to Old Trafford. Spurs kicked off early and came away with a 3-2 win, which sees them up to 6th and in a good position for qualification. Man United took an early lead against Rangers, but there was plenty of drama in the last 10 minutes before Bruno Fernandes got a late winner to see the game finish 2-1. Ruben Amorim was happy his side are up to 4th, but knows there's still work to do.
Of course, we are not playing our best. We are far from that, but we improved from the last game. I know that the opponent is different, the pace, everything is different, but they try it, and you can see it. We need to be more clinical in the right moments because that can help us a lot.
The anticipation around Season 2 of Apple TV Plus's Severance has been immense. The show, which was created and written by Dan Erickson, is directed and exec-produced by Ben Stiller. There's been a substantial gap between seasons, but fans have been delighted by Episode 1 of the new series, which featured a guest voiceover from Keanu Reeves, and Episode 2 drops on Friday. Adam Scott and his fellow cast members made a bizarre promotional appearance in character in a glass box in Central Station last week, and he told Seth Meyers that they loved it.
We just had a blast. We had our actual computer terminals there so we could refine numbers like we do on the show. Although within the first 5 minutes, Britt's computer broke. Then Patricia Arquette came in as Cobell. The whole place got silent. Like people were scared of them.
There really aren't that many shows out there that you could label as a horror survival coming-of-age show, but Yellow Jackets certainly fits that brief. The show, which is just about to drop Season 3, follows the teenage survivors of a plane crash who are abandoned in the wilderness for 19 months. It switches between the past and the present-day survivors, which adds a layer of mystery, and that's before we talk about the cannibalism. If you haven't seen it, it's a wild ride, and you have time to catch up before the first 2 episodes of Season 3 drop on Valentine's Day, because of course they do.
Someone wants us dead.
Don't think for a second I won't get to the bottom of this.
Are you hiding something?
Think about how screwed up we would be if we had survived a plane crash only to end up eating each other.
Oh, I do.
You've been listening to The Smart 7. We'll be back tomorrow at 7 a.m. Hit that follow button and have a great day. Give us 7 minutes, we'll give you the world.